Hello there, I'm Trevor, and in this episode, somewhere in the middle, we're here at the Vista Theatre to see Paul Thomas Anderson's latest feature film, One Battle After Another, in the original format it was intended to be, VistaVision, one of 4 theaters showing it in its actual format. So come along, let's check this theater out, and let's see what One Battle After Another is all about.
From the outside, the Vista Theatre doesn't call much attention to itself. A single screen tucked along Sunset Boulevard, almost easy to overlook during the day. But once night falls, it transforms. That neon marquee comes alive, glowing red against the Los Angeles sky, a beacon for anyone who still believes in the magic of going to the movies. Opened in 1923, the Vista has stood for over a century, surviving the rise of multiplexes, home video, and streaming. Inside, it's far grander than you'd expect. Egyptian-inspired decor, blue velvet seats, and a screen framed by ornate columns. It feels like stepping into another era, one where film still mattered. Over the years, I've come back here off and on. Not as often as some of LA's other historic theaters, but when I do, it's usually for something special. One of those nights was back in 2012, long before Quentin Tarantino took over the Vista. They hosted a Friday the 13th double feature, the original and Jason Lives, to celebrate the release of a limited edition soundtrack box set for the first 6 films. The event featured Friday the 13th's Adrian King, composer Harry Manfredini, and Jason Lives actors Darcy DeMoss and Nancy McLaughlin. It was one of those great LA film nights, the kind you never forget. More recently, in 2023, I returned to see Thanksgiving on 35mm film, a perfect full circle moment, since the fake trailer for Thanksgiving debuted in Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's Grindhouse. Watching it here in Tarantino's own theater on film just felt right. And now, in 2025, the Vista is one of only 4 theaters in the world showing Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another in its original VistaVision format, a widescreen film process developed by Paramount in the 1950s that delivered stunning clarity and depth. It's a rare opportunity, a reminder that film, in its purest form, still has power. For me, coming back to the Vista always feels like a returning to where that love of cinema truly lives. Inside a darkened theater where the light of film flickers across the screen. All right, I'm back in my classroom, as you can see, and it's time to talk One Battle After Another. There's so much to unpack. This movie, the credits were rolling, and the movie's finishing up, and people start discussing it and whatnot. My brain was just like, there's so much to unpack. So yeah, I have a few things I really want to talk about in this episode to really build up about what a great film One Battle After Another is, how well PTA did, Paul Thomas Anderson did with this feature film. So some main things I really want to talk about, the cast itself, obviously. That's what was marketed to us as the cast and what they bring or provide to this story.
Good morning.
There are no hands on the clock
Why?
because they're not needed.
What time is it?
I also want to talk about the cinematography. I mean, a big selling point of this movie is seeing it in VistaVision, or that it was filmed in VistaVision, a format that hasn't been used since the 1950s, essentially. Lastly, the ability to get to see this in a format that only 4 places in the world are showing. I mean, that's a privilege. That's special. That's something you should be proud of. So right out of the gate, let's start with the cast. The cast, top to bottom, is impeccable. There's nothing absolutely, like, every single person is fantastic in this. Leonardo DiCaprio is aces. It's one of the best performances I've seen from him. He is hysterical. He is confused most of the movie.
I think we got off on the wrong foot. I was trying to get the rendezvous point for my daughter,
Right.
Willa.
If you can't answer what time is it, I cannot give you the rendezvous point. This is a key tenet of the rebellion. I'm surprised.
There's a representation of again, kind of like
how angry we can be in our youth at the system and what's going on in our country here in America, as well as we get older, sort of the apathy that we develop, the I don't know, the subduedness that can come from us, the sort of lackadaisical mentality that shifts over time. In our youth, we have angst and anger, and as we get older, some of that stuff starts to dilute and fade away. Sean Penn, the military guy, of course, plays it perfectly. He is smug. He is, in my eyes, an evil depiction of what's wrong with mentality on race, mentality on our society, as well as a mentality on immigration. One thing that I think was pretty wise of the marketing team for this movie is they don't really focus in on how much this movie is about immigration and the perception of our military and what our military is doing in that sense. There is a lens on terrorism and how terrorism is viewed or portrayed by a country, right? And its civilians. Continuing on, Benicio del Toro is fantastic in this movie. Holy crap. I mean, when is Benicio del Toro not good? But in this movie, he is so smooth, and in the face of like utmost fear, he shows this tenacity, this like sort of cool, calm demeanor that is just, it's fantastic. He plays this sensei character in an immigration town, and when you know the proverbial problem starts happening, he is calm, cool, collected, and makes sure that he is focused on what is laser focused on what needs to happen in the situation. So Toro just nailed it.
Here we go. I'm gonna turn at this gas station, I'm gonna slow down, and we talk and roll. I'll take it from there. Unbuckle and get ready.
Continuing to talk more about this cast, Tiana Taylor is fantastic. This is the first thing that I could really stand out and say that I've seen her in. She carries the scenes that she's in. She demands attention in the scenes that she's in. Also, too, the way that Paul Thomas Anderson uses her with the fetish of black women. There's a term of that, right? Like the way that our society has sort of created a fetish around black people.
The fetishization of black women is a form of racism and sexism that reduces them to a set of sexualized, dehumanizing stereotypes. Rooted in the violent history of colonialism and slavery, it denies black women their full humanity and autonomy.
And some of this goes all the way back to early slave times, and the history the ugly history that this country has regarding race, slavery, and a caste system that essentially created an inequality amongst equals. You know, and I know there may be people that get mad at that statement, but that's the reality. God didn't create a pecking order. Society did that. Our cultures have created these caste systems and these definitions of the hierarchy that we have in our society. So Tiana Taylor, again, demands attention and really kind of shows that ugly side of how men look at black women. And also this really has a lens on how white men may look on black women. Regina Hall, who I'm used to normally seeing in comedic roles, is fantastic here. She's a very dramatic role. And again, not at all in a sense of, she's not playing it for LOLs. She's playing for complete drama. And similar to Tiana Taylor, she just nails every scene she's in. She commands. You're just wrapped into whatever she's saying. It's that serious. Newcomer Chase Infinity is really great in the scenes that she has. I don't think she's given that much to do in this movie, but she carries what she carries her scenes. She handles her scenes. She balances well off of Leo as his daughter. And I think seeing her in this movie shows that she's got star power, and that we'll probably be seeing her in some other movies coming up.
Who's this?
Oh, they're just my friends.
Now, is that a he or a she or a they?
It's not that hard. They, them.
So, okay, next up, let's talk script, marketing, and context of this movie. Those are quite a few different things to talk about, but I think we can kind of put it together in a couple pieces here. One, Paul Thomas Anderson goes for the throat at America here. He turns a mirror on some real issues that are ongoing issues. These are not something that just our generation has faced, multiple generations have faced. This is an ongoing distraction in our country, immigration. And again, as I was talking about marketing, I think it's really smart that they did not market this movie about immigration, especially in the time that we're in. It is a divisive issue. It is an issue that gets people going, and that's on purpose. America would rather that we as a people are distracted with immigration or what's going on with immigration in various ways, or new people coming to our country, rather than focusing on real issues that really impact us. Immigrants are what built this country. They're the foundation of this country. And to say that a new group of immigrants coming in is, to demonize them and vilify them is just, in my opinion, wrong. It's not what this country is.
Correction. It may be what our country is, but not what our country claims to be.
At least from my perspective. And again, I think that that's an important context of what this movie is about. It puts the mirror on what white America, what corporate America, what plenty of people in America view as what America is supposed to be. White America. There is some stuff that I will save for the movie for you to find out, but just PTA has always been really good at wit. He's always been good at putting a lens on social commentary of what's going on in our society. Magnolia is a great example of this. Punch Drunk Love, the way people take advantage of other people. This movie is no different in the sense that, again, it is focusing on immigration and how immigration is framed in different ways. There is a number of instances in this movie where the military says, oh, we're going in to do this, and that's really not what's happening. So if the public or the military themselves, these men that have given their lives to do what is tasked to them, they have to accept those orders. And some of these orders are framed in ways that don't go against human decency, right? That these people are drug dealers, or these people are this, that, and the other, right? So there is very much this level of information, who has the information and what information is shared with others, and how that is used in creating a rebellion, anger, fear, all those types of things. It's just, like I said, this movie's jam-packed. Jam-packed. With content that all ties into why we still got a lot of issues when it comes to race. And honestly, you can't just say it's racism. It's a caste system. We created hierarchy in our country, around the world, that tries to play that white society or white America is better than others. And I'm sorry, that's the opposite of equality. That's inequality. So, there it is. I think another thing that this movie really thinks about and makes us think about is how terrorism is viewed. Who labels terrorists? Who makes them the terrorist? And oftentimes that's the information, or how the information is delivered or perceived by the public. And again, if this movie marketed that, it wouldn't have worked. I don't think it would have a lot of people going to see it. But what they did do wisely was market the star power. Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn, Leonardo DiCaprio. These actors, holy crap, they sell the movie. And I think it was really smart that they sold it on star power. And a couple, funny bits of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Viva la revolution!
I think that was the wise decision here, rather than, again, saying that this movie is about, we've been lied to about immigration. We've been lied to about human decency. Our government is run by racist white people. That's out there. And again, for some people, they don't want to hear that. They don't want that noise in their lives, right? Which is, we all have things that we pick and choose that we want to pay attention to and listen to, right? In that sense, in a very volatile, divisive context of what this movie is about, PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, is perfect with his wit. He's always been great with wit, but here it really feels locked in to, like, taking away from the thrills, taking away from the disgust, the despair, the level of what you're seeing on screen, and how it's kind of like, in a sense, how Saturday Night Live will play certain things for jokes. That being said, I don't feel that this movie is played for comedy. I feel that he balances stress, he balances fear, he balances things with comedy.
I need a weapon, man. All you got is goddamn nunchucks. You know where I can get a gun?
And as someone who loves horror movies, that's one way that I deal with horror or things that I'm scared of in a horror movie is I'll often laugh at it to like diffuse it, right? And I think that PTA does that here. He diffuses some of the very tense scenes with comedy, with wit, and you know, certain things that are just in context, like ways people believe about things, racism and etc., or white superiority, and plays that up to wit. You know, yeah, I don't. You know, if you're a racist white person, if you're a racist white male, I'm curious how this movie comes across to you. Do you eat it up because of the way it's presented, or do you get mad at it? I'm sure there's a little bit of both. The other thing that I would say that was really smart about this movie is that Paul Thomas Anderson evokes both sides of the political spectrum in this. There are ways for either side to defend this movie and say, oh, well, look at how it's being portrayed. So I think there really is, and I've been talking about this loosely, of the like how we present things, how the media present things, how we get this information from us. The movie kind of plays that and allows us to think about human rights, but also think about what, like how those human rights are being dealt with in these situations. So yeah, I think PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, deserves a little credit in the sense of how he presents immigration for both sides, as well as how it's perceived by both sides. He gives both sides of the argument and kind of lets the audience sort of play with that. Now, that being said, there is a bit of sarcasm against racist white America and their viewpoint on immigration. Yeah, he shows his cards, but at the same point in time, I do think that he juxtaposes, or he kind of gives the audience both positions, and how both positions could say that depictions are being made, or this is inaccurate, this is not the reality of what's happening. And it's part of why our country is at times so divisive, and why plenty of issues in our country, like immigration, not everyone's going to agree upon. Next up to talk about is cinematography. This is a loaded one in the sense that the cinematography of this movie is, well, it was shot on film. It was shot using an old camera that, you see a special message at the end of the movie for Giovanni Ribisi. Giovanni Ribisi is an actor many people know. He has since become not just an actor, he's a cinematographer, and has spent some time restoring VistaVision cameras, and gave Paul Thomas Anderson a VistaVision camera, which he used for this movie. What is VistaVision? VistaVision is an old film print that was, back in the time, before we had IMAX and all these things, it was the largest print you could get. Any format that you see this movie on was taken from this original VistaVision print. That being said, at the Vista Theatre, we also have the camera there on display, and you could kind of get a feel of what that camera was like to work with. You know, what I film with my iPhone, it's pretty mobile. I can take it wherever I want. I can put it in small situations with the right hand or you know, equipment. I can set my camera up all over the place and film wherever. The VistaVision camera is not necessarily that. It's not huge, it's not oversized, but again, the cinematography and using this camera, I felt it as I watched it. I thought more about the deliberate shots. I don't want to waste film either when I'm shooting with film, instead of just letting it run. I can let this camera run and talk for 20, 25 minutes and then decide how I want to edit it down. On film, that's a far more expensive thing to do. And I was pretty, astonished at the camera work here and what we see. A perfect example of this is in one sequence where Leonardo DiCaprio is trying to evade the police. We see some skaters helping him evade the police, and they're moving across rooftops. And the way these skaters are moving across rooftops is almost as if they're ollieing and skating across the rooftops. It's so fluid and so surreal. And then there's just this hilarious moment that comes into it. It's just a great example of like what was thought of and how much effort probably went into thinking out these scenes. How do we shoot this? It's all shot at night as well. How do we light it? It really made my brain swirl in the sense of what this movie was doing and what Paul Thomas Anderson was shooting. And again,
something he normally doesn't make. He doesn't make thrillers like this. This is almost an action thriller that just beat for beat for beat for beat for beat as the movie goes, moves. Most of his movies are dreary dramas. I'm not saying that they're not engaging. They are. But this is the first action-based thriller that he's made. Everything prior to this was far more, again, dreary, punch-drunk love. Boogie Nights is more of a comedy drama, right? Magnolia, complete drama. I've never seen The Phantom Thread, so I can't speak to that. Inherent Vice, I guess, is a little bit more on this, but even Inherent Vice feels slow and deliberate, whereas this movie just snap, snap, snap. It cooks. It just goes, goes, goes. Another thing that I would really talk about here is the action in the movie, in that sense. You feel right up in the teeth of it. Like there is a car accident that you feel, you're like, holy crap. Leonardo DiCaprio, as you see in the trailer, getting thrown out of a vehicle. The action is just right up in your face, and the way that they shot this, just it's invigorating. I mean, it's 100% engaged the whole way through. It took me a couple hours to kind of come down from this experience. That's how thrilling it really is. And a lot of that comes into the cinematography. At one point, Jessica even started getting sick or queasy in one part towards the end where we're moving through these hills, and the way that they shoot those hills is just riveting. And it's just a really great chase sequence with a few different cars. Okay, another thing to talk about is seeing it in actual VistaVision. Walking into the Vista Theatre, you could already see the format. It's that square box. It's the 4:3, not a letter box anymore. So I would be interested to see this movie in its crop form, how much different it looks compared to what the original VistaVision print is. That being said, this was special. And we're about 2 weeks in at the point that we see this movie, that it's been released, right? So I did the math. The Vista is showing One Battle After Another 4 times a day. It's been showing it for 11 days. That meant when we watched it, we saw around the 40, somewhere in the high 40s, about 44 screenings had happened, right? And we were somewhere in the 45, 46, where I think we saw the 47th screening of this print. What does that mean? We're starting to see dust on it. There are a couple scrapes, right? That's what happens with film. It ages, and it gives us a better understanding of why film preservation matters. It also lets us understand why a lot of people wanted to switch away from film, because you have to take care of it. You have to be careful with it. And again, I've heard stories of people that in New York went to see this and the film print broke. They just switched to digital instead of finishing the movie in print, because they would have to splice it back together, rerun the reel. It's just too much work. You'd be sitting there for too long, and it would run all the rest of the showtimes out of whack. So they just shifted to DCP. I mean, that would be frustrating. You want to see the film. And there's something too, in a sense, also, that like Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, and Leonardo DiCaprio, these are titans of acting. This VistaVision hasn't been used since the 50s. This is the first movie filmed on VistaVision since then. What perfect actors to put in that movie in that sense. It's just, I don't know, as a cinephile, as a cineast person, someone who loves cinema and going to and cherishing these old things, this was perfect. I loved it. And the fact that this movie has been selling out for the last 2 weeks, all 4 showings, is awesome. That shows that there are lots of us out there that want to see movies on film, go to cinema, go out to the theater rather than waiting to watch this on Prime or streaming it at home, or even worse, illegally streaming it, which would not hurt the dollar or the pocket of Leonardo DiCaprio, but would hurt the people that worked on this film. And I'm not talking about the director. I'm talking about the dude who did the craft service table. I'm talking about the dude that's holding the mic, or the female that's holding the person that's doing those things. Seeing this in this format again was something very special. It is running through Tuesday, November 4th.
So if you have the opportunity, you live in the LA area, I would highly recommend making the trek to the Vista Theatre in Los Angeles off Sunset Boulevard. I think you will not regret the experience. The Vista Theatre really put this well together nicely. It's 100%. There's no trailers whatsoever. It starts at the runtime, and the movie's 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it really cooks in that period of time. Thanks for joining me in this episode. I hope you enjoyed watching, seeing a little bit about what the Vista looks like on the inside, as well as to hear my review of One Battle After Another. Mostly non-spoiler review of One Battle After Another. What say you? Have you seen this movie? What do you think about it? Did you get a chance to see it on film? What format did you get to see it in? Did you see it a DCP, a digital projection? Did you see it on IMAX 70 millimeter? Did you see it in IMAX DCP? Did you see it in VistaVision? What format did you get to see it in? I'd love to hear about it. And again, thanks for watching this episode. We'll see you on the next one. Auf Wiedersehen.